Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 6 of Two Idiots Doing a Podcast. I'm Nate, joined by Daniel, and per usual, we're just here talking sports and trying to outdo idiots like Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, anybody really on First Take. Really not that hard to know ball more than those clowns. But except my boy Dan Orlovsky, let me tell you that's my guy right there. So yeah, pretty much every single week we'll just talk about three main sports, which is NHL, college ball, and MLB, and then might throw in an occasional NFL. Or today we will have one very quick shout out to the NBA. Probably once every 25 episodes we might mention them. So we might talk about them now and the NBA Finals. That's about it. So um, for our icebreaker, Daniel, I'll hand it over to Daniel. He's making me guess some teams in the NHL, so I'll let him explain that.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a quick. I guess maybe not. It couldn't be quick. It may be. We're gonna do a quick guess that team. I'm going to give you a category of them, and then I will give you the number of teams that are in that category, and then you have to guess all of them. If you need hints,
Okay.
you can ask for them, and then I can give you a couple of hints. But other than
Hope
that,
hopefully I don't need any, because otherwise Blake will be very disappointed in me. So
see, I don't think it's what you think it'll be, but hopefully. So
okay.
our first one is going to be, we have 8 teams that have an animal in their logo, in their or their team name is a animal. So
Based off an animal. Okay, so
yes,
Kraken, I'd imagine. Um,
obviously.
Ducks, sharks. Um, I would say coyotes, but they're out now.
Yikes.
Utah Hockey Club. No,
Unfortunately, they're not
no.
on the list. We want them to be the Yetis, so next year
Yeah,
they
yeah.
could
I
be.
hope so. I hope so. Um, are they gonna say the Wild? I don't know. I might. Okay.
Nope,
I
they
thought that
are
was
not.
borderline. I didn't think so
I
though.
thought
I
about putting them on the list, but I was like, probably not.
okay. Don't think the Canucks. Canucks is weird. Again, it's their logo's an animal, but I don't think based off the context of their name, I don't think it is an animal.
No, it is
It's
not.
they're bizarre.
Yeah, their logo definitely throws you off. It threw me off.
Oilers. I don't think there's a Canadian team. So I think we're all the Panthers. So that puts me at
Yep.
what, 4?
You
Uh,
currently, yeah, have 4.
okay. Um, Predators. That would have
Yep.
been a little embarrassing to not name one of our division rivals. Team we've been clowning on, and it took me that long to get them.
And we will continue to clown on.
Darn right. I feel like I skipped it. Hang on, I gotta take California again really quick. There's Kings, Sharks, Ducks. Is there another? I don't think so. Okay, so Rangers, Islanders. Nope. This is where I struggle. Like, I'm bad with divisions. It'd be so much easier if I, like, again, MLB, I would just go down divisions, but I
That's
just
fair.
don't know divisions as well. So there's three others. Oh man, and not I'm getting cooked here. So let me think. Bruins, no. Lightning, no. Um, yeah, go by state here. Pennsylvania Penguins. Wow, Blake is
Yep.
grilling me, bro. Oh
Yep.
no, Blake is yelling at me right now. Oh no, he's so mad at me. I'm sorry. They weren't last, Blake. They weren't last, but 6 is not very good. So there's two more. Not the Senators, not the Maple Leafs, not the Canadians. Like I said, I don't think it's a Canadian team. I almost said Thrashers. They have not been a team in like 15, 20 years. Not the Avalanche. Not the Golden Knights. So I don't think it's anybody out west. It's not the Blackhawks. Um, Golly, is that the Hurricanes? The Devils? Are they gonna say the Devils?
No,
No, I
I
didn't
didn't
think so.
technically say the Devils.
Okay.
They are 2 Eastern Conference teams.
It
So,
has to be. It
yeah,
has to be.
you are done with the West.
I was gonna say I knew the West was done. Wow. Why am I so bad with these? It's because I don't watch the Eastern Conference. Boring losers. Okay, so not Bruins. Sabres. Oh my gosh, I'm insulting my best friend and my dad. No.
Yikes.
Oh no. Well, in my defense, the Sabres are very forgettable.
That is fair.
Uh,
That is fair.
not the Blue Jackets. Um, it's not the Red Wings. So who am I missing? Flyers? No.
Mm-mm.
Um,
I will say you have mentioned their name as not being one of them.
oh my gosh. Oh no. Well, okay, let me go. I'm just going to start from the bottom of the coast. So we already got Panthers. Lightning. No,
Nope.
that's literally a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Carolina Hurricanes. That's objectively not. It's not the Capitals. I hadn't mentioned the Capitals, so
No.
it's
No.
definitely not the
It's not them.
Capitals. Are they saying the Bruins?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They said that the Bruin is another word
It's.
for a
I guess
bear.
the logo is a bear.
Yeah.
I should. Yeah.
So those are
No
the
hints.
teams. The one other team that was up kind of for discussion was the Red Wings, because the Red Wing is technically a bird. But I didn't put it because
Yeah.
I don't think of that when you think of a bird.
I don't. I look at their logo and I think cars, so I don't
That's
think birds.
yeah. Yes.
I mean, like I get it. There's literally a wing, and wing is in their name, so I could see it. But okay. Well, I think we should have time to do the other one if you want
Yeah.
to.
So the second one is which NHL teams have humans in their logos or
Senators.
team name. Yeah.
Senators. Okay.
There are 10 of these guys.
So are they saying Blackhawks is a person?
Yep, they're because of the
Good.
chief.
They're a chief. That's what I
Yeah.
thought. Golden Knights. Okay,
Yep.
and my ADHD is gonna. I can't just jump across from far east, central, and then far west because that's how I'm gonna mess up so bad. Are they saying Kings? That's
Yes,
a little
yes,
generic.
I
Okay,
do have them
but
on
I
here.
kind of figured that they'd be a person. Utah Hockey Club. Stop. Oh man. No, definitely not them. Not the Avalanche. We already listed off the Kraken, so there's not really much else out west. The Ducks and Sharks aren't a part of that. Wild shouldn't be.
No, they are
The
not.
Blues shouldn't be. That's no.
Yeah, no, the Blues is more of a genre rather
Yeah, it's a
than
genre,
the
right?
people.
Are they saying Blue Jackets? I don't technically.
Yes, the Blue Jackets are
Okay.
on it because it
Okay.
was describing a type of human.
That's what I thought. So that puts me at what, 4? Rangers.
You're actually at 5. Now you're at 6.
Now I'm 6. Ooh,
Yeah.
Cook. Islanders.
Yeah, they're technically because
Okay.
an islander is a person.
Okay, that's what I thought. The Canadians.
Yep.
I see. I was gonna list them earlier, but then ADHD kicked in. I was like, I can't list the Blackhawks like 9th.
You have 2 teams
I have
left.
2 more.
Yeah.
Are they gonna say Oilers?
Yep, Oilers are one of them.
All right, so this is the one that I was debating earlier, and they're weird. Is it the Canucks?
It is the Canucks. It is
that
apparently
one was a lot easier.
It's apparently a slang for a Canadian.
Yeah, and that's why I remembered in my head. It was like it's slang for Canadian.
It's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, it throws you off.
I looked.
Like, what?
Yeah, no, I looked at the logo and I was like, "What is a Canuck?" And I was like, "That does not match what the logo is at all." The logo's dope, and I love the logo. The logo's
pretty sweet.
But like, that has no correlation to what this team actually is.
Yeah, no. It is weird for sure, but yeah, I'm not surprised that's the last one I would have guessed because they get a little weird. But all right, well, we'll have more stuff like that down the road. I'm sure I'll have something for Daniel next week, MLB related. So have a little fun. Blake, again, I apologize that Pittsburgh was 6th. It took me way too long to get the Penguins, man, but I cooked through the humans.
I expected
the humans
you
was
to
a lot easier.
I expected you to say the Penguins first, and I was very surprised it took you that long.
Oh man, well, I think strategically I was trying to go west to east for that one.
That's fair.
And because half that list is Seattle all the way down to San Jose or Anaheim.
Yeah.
So, plus we went to that Anaheim game, so I had to give them a shout out early.
That's fair. And they went back
So
to their old logo. So
yeah, a darn right.
a win-win.
One of the best in sports. So
Now they just need to change the color.
yeah, true. I do agree there. But okay, so before we jump into more NHL content, I am going to start a new bit. It's called Loser Team of the Week. Which team fall hardest on their face over the past week, whether it's in a playoff game, whether it's through free agency, whether it's just a regular season game, whatever. And this is what I was saying. A very rare NBA shout out. The reason I'm shouting it out is because the other night, the LA Clippers and Brooklyn Nets played each other. Yeah, thrilling matchup. That when I think NBA, I think Clippers and Nets. Totally not the secondary teams in their own respective area. But the reason I mention this is the Los Angeles Clippers beat the Nets by 59 points.
Yikes.
And the Nets didn't even score 70. They didn't score 70 points. Like 15 years ago, fine, it happens. It's 2025. Like, if you shoot 43s, you should get 70 points. And they got 67. So that's Brooklyn wild. Nets, you're getting clowned on. I'm sorry. That's one of the most embarrassing performances I've ever seen. They did shoot 30% from the field. I was initially coming in to think, oh, they didn't even hit 30%. They were 30.1%.
Oh.
Unbelievably bad. So, yeah, one of the guys that they had starting, I forgot his name, was 3 for 16. I was like,
that's
bro.
Crazy.
Bro, I know you guys aren't good, but my goodness, you should just know at a certain point, like, stop shooting. Because they did have two guys on the bench that shot 50%. That bro just held them so far back. But, so yeah, it's a quick little short bit. So everybody go to the Brooklyn Nets Insta page and clown on them because that game is pathetic beyond words. It says a lot because I'm wearing my Blackhawks under right now, and they were... I was debating on throwing him on there for blowing another lead last night, but we'll wait for that. So, moving into NHL, we could discuss a little bit about. I had a who's hot, who's cold, and then I could take care of that, and then you could just jump on to the other points. So the first thing I was going to mention is the hot teams in the league right now. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Columbus Blue Jackets are in a wild card spot. And massive shout out to you guys because first of all, I'm going to see them in March, so that's going to be exciting. So see them at the outdoor game. They did just release their new jerseys, which are pretty nice. But yeah, they I don't know what's clicking, but right now they're clowning on some teams. I love their Blue Jackets meme page; it's pretty funny. But they're winning games that they probably shouldn't be based off their talent. I know they have a lot of young guys. Fantilli in particular, they have some studs, but it seems like they're accelerating a little bit. Because I wouldn't have expected them to really be in the spot they are for at least another year. And granted, there's still a good amount of time in the league where they could fall back to planet Earth. But right now, they're cruising and they've jumped. I think I don't know if they jumped Boston or they're right behind them for the second wild card spot. I know they jumped Ottawa for a moment. So that's one team that's hot, and this has not aged well since I've hyped it because the Red Wings did lose the other night. So sorry, guys. But prior to that, they had won 7 in a row. And ironically, bringing up the Blue Jackets outdoor game, I get to see them play the Red Wings. So might actually have some playoff implications there as the Eastern Conference wild card right now is looking very competitive between Detroit, Columbus, Ottawa, Boston. Tampa could fall down, but I imagine right now they'll probably snag a divisional spot. But again, we still have, roughly 40-ish games, maybe a little less to play. So we'll see how that plays out. But good for Detroit. Once our bitter rival, but doesn't matter to me anymore since they switched conferences. So both teams playing very, very well right now and are finally trying to compete for the postseason, and we'll see what they if either of them make it, and if they could do some damage. In terms of who's cold, I'm not clowning on us for worst team of the week. We've been cold for the whole entire season. There wasn't really a team that really stood out in terms of losing streaks. There are a couple teams that are like 4-6, 3-7. So, and they weren't really like, it was either a team that was in a divisional spot. So I was like, or fighting for a wild card spot. So really nobody like lost a lot of ground. That was kind of what I was looking for. So instead, I picked the two teams that are just absolutely Mickey Mouse poverty in the Blackhawks and the Sharks. Bitter rivals, not on the ice, but in terms of winning the lottery. It's the third year in a row now. Both of them are competing for the number one spot, if not longer. So, yeah, the Blackhawks, as I mentioned, blew another lead last night. Just unbelievable. I even commented on Instagram. Second period, the Blackhawks are bragging about being 2-1 against Nashville. Literally what I comment. All right, chat, how do we blow this one? And guess what? We blew it. It was a shootout loss, but we still blew it. So, color me shocked. And then the Sharks are just celebrating is looking great, but and Backlund is Granlund, Mikael Granlund is there. He's been a nice piece for them, but beyond that, just little too young, and it's gonna take time for San Jose to get make San Jose hockey great again. So
I mean, when you have Georgiev as their goalie, I mean,
brutal.
That's probably the reason just to start.
Yeah, who would you rather have though, Georgiev or Seth Jones? I'll take Georgiev for 1,000.
Yeah, that's neither is a great option.
Neither's a great option, but Georgiev is not locked up for 6 more years.
That's fair.
Oh my gosh! And this is a weekly reminder, people, that Seth Jones is getting paid more than Cale Makar, and Cale Makar got paid after Seth Jones. So don't give me this. Well, Cale Makar got paid first, because he didn't. Cale Makar took a cheaper contract than Seth Jones for whatever dumb reason. Bro could be getting paid $11 million right now. Best defenseman in the league, debatably. If he's not, he's top 3. So, screw you, Seth Jones. Another weekly shout out for a guy that I don't like. But, yeah, a couple other things we have for NHL in terms of content here. I don't know if you want to jump in since I've been talking a little bit, but we got Tristan Jarry, R.I.P. Blake. He got waived today, although I don't know if he might be thrilled about it. I have no idea. But he's been there Tristan Jarry's been there for a while. Believe I think he won a Stanley Cup, if I remember, in 2017. Great times. I remember where we were when Blake was celebrating. We were at a camp in Wisconsin, and he was just blasting their goal song. So great times for him. But yeah, rough numbers he's been putting up this year. He signed that 5-year extension in 2023 and just really fell apart. So now Pittsburgh's looking to replace him with I'm not even gonna bother saying that. But the guy that played in Carolina for a bit, that went to Detroit, Alex, and then Joel Blomqvist, their rookie. Could be interesting duo there for sure. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's just shocking to see the drastic fall off of him. Yeah. But I mean, maybe a new place will revitalize his career. I think if you're Colorado, this is a guy who has shown history of being really good, and is having a down year. Even if you get him for like a 1 or 2 year deal, I feel like you can actually see what he's worth. But I also know you got Blackwood, so that would give you a little bit of competition. But I think he'll get picked up somewhere. There's a lot of places, playoff teams that need goalies. Finding a good goalie is hard to get in the NHL by itself. I know the Canucks are struggling with Just injuries with their goalies. I know Demko's been in and out of their lineup for a long time, for most of the season. They could get Jari and hope he can hold it over until Demko's healthy, and then be honestly a solid backup. But I think there's a couple places where, if you're a team or a general manager, you're gonna look at this and be like, his career shows that he's a good goalie. This may just be an off year of. There could be a bunch of different reasons. He could be injured and not actually saying he's injured, struggling with stuff. We never know, but this isn't who Jari is. But I think a team, at least for a backup, I think you have a good goalie right there, to go get. He's just someone to go get, in my opinion.
I agree. I would love to replace Mrazek with him, but then again, you forget who's in front of you. Jones. Um, so I doubt he'd want to come to Chicago, and even then, I just don't think he would really benefit us in any way. So, um, yeah, I'd be curious to see where he goes. He's definitely has the resume, as you mentioned, that he this shouldn't be the end of the road for him, and it doesn't help that he's on a just horrendously mid Penguins team. Just 1 minute they look like they're cooking, and the next they're losing by 6 to Columbus or something weird. So just a lot of inconsistency with that organization as a whole right now, and I think that's in part the Penguins are denying the fact that they're no longer Cup contenders, but that's just me. Um, and they're going down the route that the Blackhawks did, where they pretended to be contenders for 5 years, and then realized it's like, oh, we're not good. I was like, we tried telling you that 5 years ago. So, yeah, I definitely don't think that didn't help Jari in the slightest either. It's just kind of an organization that's you want to try to win as long as you can with Crosby and Malkin. I get it, but at a certain point, if you want to delay the inevitable of what teams like Detroit and Chicago did, where they just really killed themselves for several years trying to pretend to be cup contenders, you just gotta face the facts that you're not good anymore. You're not bad, but you're a tweener team in the wrong direction. So you just gotta kind of move on from some of those pieces and try to pick things back up before it's a little too late. So we'll see what happens with that. I mentioned Four Nations schedule. I did not pull that up. So we're actually going to come back to that next week. So for now, we are going to transition over to college football. We have a couple different notes here. So where do you want to start?
I mean, I think we can start with the Carson Beck
Yep.
one, and then talk about Quinn Ewers a little bit. Carson Beck went to Miami. He decided he wanted to stay another year, um, and transferred out of Georgia and went to Miami instead. I don't understand this. Um, all of Miami's pieces are either seniors or going to the draft. So you're going into Miami with literally nothing there. Um, I don't know. I don't understand this. I understand he got hurt in the SEC championship game and tore his UCL, but I don't know. I think he would have benefited. He probably wants to be a higher round draft pick, and I understand that. But I think he would have benefited of just going like Ewers did and learning under a guy like a Kirk Cousins or an Aaron Rodgers, or guys that have been in the league for a little bit, know what's happening in the league, um, can help you along your way. There's no pressure going in. And I understand wanting to play another year in college, wanting to go win another national championship, but I think we saw this year Carson Beck really was only good because of the pieces he had around him. Like, he had Brock Bowers, he had a good running back, good receiving core, Brock Bowers. Did I mention Brock Bowers? Um, he would. They have always have a great defense. Like so, he was surrounded by all of that, and I think this year we actually saw who Carson Beck really is. Um, and I could be wrong. I'm not an NFL analyst. I'm not a scout. I'm not any of that, but I don't think he is what everyone thought he was going into this year. I am. I will say for years, I think he did make a good decision. I know he had 6, 8, $10 million NIL deals to stay and go to a Big Ten school, go to Notre Dame, go to an ACC school. But I think he made a good decision because, like I said with Carson Beck, he's going to be probably a second to fourth round pick, depending on the needs of the later rounds. He's gonna go to a good team. He's not gonna go to a team that needs to rebuild. He's not gonna go to a Chicago like Caleb Williams did, where he, unfortunately for him, has to sit around with not great players around him and be part of the rebuild where Ewers could go into a playoff organization that just needs, or a quarterback is on their last year of of their contract and Ewers is the next in line to take that. They just think he needs a year. I think Ewers can be a really good NFL quarterback. He just needs the confidence. And I think with him being out for a year, not out for a year, but as a backup for a year, he can gain that confidence. Because when he has that confidence, you could see how great he was. Like when they went to Michigan and played, when they went to Alabama and played, like that was the Quinn Ewers that I think every Texas fan wanted to see. And unfortunately, the injuries hurt him a lot and took a lot of that confidence away. And so going to the NFL, he at least gets a chance to sit around, learn, take everything in, learn what it means to be a pro before he actually has to step on the field and take the field as an NFL player.
Yeah, well, I'll jump in on Carson Beck here for a moment. I think it makes sense in the terms of, he's dating someone from Miami. So I think that played a big factor in going there. But you're losing a lot of talent at Miami that was already respectably overrated. Um, again, there were 2 bad calls away from being, a 5-loss team. So wasn't really that wowed by Miami personally to begin with. So you're just kind of going to a program that's, they took a step up trying to get back to the Miami ways of the early 2000s in the 90s, but they're definitely going to take a big step back, especially with Cristobal as their head coach, because, a couple years ago, bro decided to make a couple questionable decisions in terms of not needing the ball, and then it backfired. So I don't know. I just think it's a weird fit. Um, but you never know. He could be a good, he's experienced, so he's going to be playing with a lot of younger guys. So I mean, he'll be a good leadership presence for them. And depending on their schedule, I don't know what it looks like. I mean, you don't have, respectably, you don't have the toughest of schedules, at least in terms of, Big Ten or SEC opponents. You're going to the ACC, so it should lighten a little bit, especially if Florida State is still in their 12-0 to 0-12 challenge. So, so I mean, in terms of uh, competition, it'll ease up on him a little bit, hopefully, and I think it's good in that sense, and hopefully he can gain confidence and um, look like the Heisman contending quarterback that everyone hyped him up to be last year. So um, it'll be interesting to see how it works. Um, I am a notorious Miami, not necessarily hater. It's just one of those schools that every year it's like they put them in the top 5 because of their name, and it's just like, oh my gosh! And then they finish 6-6. USC's another one. It's just like, stop. Like, you don't need to rank teams solely based off their prestige. Okay, you can rank them based off talent, believe it or not. So, but I am pulling for him, despite me calling him overrated. I just never saw him as a Heisman quarterback. Maybe he is next year. Um, He obviously had a rough year at Georgia, but again, I think to his credit, he did relatively okay, especially since who he has to play. You're not, SEC was a little bit of a downfall, but it's still a very respectable uh, conference to be playing in, and the teams you got to play against. So I'll give him a nod for that at least. So for Quinn Ewers, we wish you came to Illinois, man. We were the team that offered 10 million. Just kidding, Luke. I love you. Luke is my Pookie Bear. Shout out. I'm so glad he's staying. Had every right to leave, but yeah, Quinn Ewers. It's an interesting decision. I think I like it and dislike it in a sense. I think just in terms of going in, his confidence is a little rattled. So going into the draft with not like riding on a high could be a little discouraging. But as you mentioned, he's not gonna get drafted to a team and start right away, unless if he goes to a really poverty franchise. But you know, if there's a bad franchise looking for a quarterback, they're not going to be looking for him day one. So that'll most likely belong to Cam Ward and Shadir Sanders. So we'll be curious to see who picks him up. Maybe teams that are Tampa Bay could give a bite. I know Baker's only 30-ish, but if he continues to struggle with turning over the ball, maybe you can learn from him and potentially jump him because he only has 2 years left on that contract. Maybe go to Arizona. Sit behind Kyler for a bit. I know Kyler's been kind of an up and down there, so maybe Arizona's looking to slowly make a change. Seattle could be a good fit too. Geno not really being the long term solution, but they don't exactly have a guy. They're not in a position to draft that guy. So I think that might honestly be the best fit personally. And you get to learn from a seasoned vet and then get to throw to DK and a couple other great guys too. Lockett, that could be a good fit for Ewers. So I think that is a the good side of things for him to go into the draft now is just, you're not going to play right away. And I think a lot of quarterbacks have learned that we've seen is starting right away doesn't more often than not is not a good thing. So, not saying it is a bad thing necessarily, but you look at the Packers. I mean, people can say what they want about Jordan Love. He's their guy. He's definitely a solid quarterback. And I think that's helped because he sat for 4 years. I don't think Jordan Love would be here right now if he played right away. Because he came in as a very raw prospect. And so I think that's a similar situation for Ewers. He's got the talent, but he's not as poised as some of these other guys that are going to be coming in. And he does have obviously injury concerns now, back-to-back years of getting hurt, one longer than the other. So will be interesting to see where he goes. Like I said, we could trade Joel Milton for a third, and you can sit behind Drake May, baby. Enjoy Drake May Mondays. Doubt that happens though. So we'll see. A couple other things we had. We mentioned this. We'll mention this briefly. Grand Canyon. People wouldn't really care about this, but because they're a part of ACU's conference, we're going to share some news about teams that are leaving our conference or joining our conference. So they're leaving the WAC for the Mountain West, which makes a ton of sense. Joining a notorious mountain state in northern Illinois, as we all know, the iconic mountains in the state of Illinois. So Mountain West is snagging a couple teams replacing some of their bigger losses. So good for you, Grand Canyon. And after last night, for a moment, I was going to dog on them for how unclassy they were to our men's basketball team. But then at halftime, they sponsored Portillo's, notorious hot dog place from Illinois. And I always knew Grand Canyon was classy. I always knew they were a great university. So, but yeah, so I think they're leaving at the end of 2025-2026 season, join the Mountain West. I think they're going to do really well out there. They got a great basketball program. So, And if they ever decide to go into football, I think they would thrive pretty relatively immediately because they got a ton of money to do it. So, but it's easy to do that when you build your university in the hood, you know. So it's not like they're paying a whole lot on rent. So must be nice, Grand Canyon. But so any thoughts on them leaving? Are you thinking, thank goodness, we might finally actually be the best team in our conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us at ACU as in us, it
Mm-hmm.
bodes well for us.
Yeah.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ACU baseball for a couple years now has been really good. Grand Canyon has
Yeah.
just had
Better.
better players and had a guy that was drafted in the top 10. So, um, I think for us, championship wise and possibly getting a championship, it is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball wise, I think it's just a tough conference in general. But
It
Grand
is.
Canyon moving to the Mountain West, I think they'll be successful. They also have a really good, which is probably underrated. Their men's volleyball team is also pretty good.
They were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what type of hype they get going into, in my opinion, a bigger and better conference. Um, I mean, and they may end up getting some bigger teams to play and better players. I think overall it's a win-win for both Grand Canyon and ACU, because ACU has actually a chance at winning our conference, and Grand Canyon not dominating every single thing that they play
Thank the
in.
Lord.
Northern Illinois, I mean,
Getting
I
that bag, bro.
I guess, but like, you know how much traveling you're gonna have to do?
So
Like
dumb.
the
So
amount
dumb.
of traveling by itself is I don't also don't even think the Mountain West is any better than the MAC. Like the good Mountain West teams are leaving the Mountain West to go join the Pac-12. So
Two
like
right now, yeah.
yeah, but like they're not going to, in my opinion, a better conference. I think you have Ohio in the MAC, you have I think Buffalo's in the MAC too. So like you have some pretty respectable names out there in the MAC that I feel like are better than, well, I guess Grand Canyon doesn't have a football team, but the Grand Canyons, the Fresno State, I think Fresno State's leaving, but um,
Yep.
those type of guys, because they're not they're not going to be as good as they were out in the Mountain West.
Yeah, like you're losing the most iconic Mountain West team in Boise State. So
Yeah,
like, the one program that's really kind of carried that conference for a while. So it is a weird move. And it's not like it's one thing for Penn State and Oregon to be doing this, but like they got the money to do that. Northern Illinois, it's a little bit more questionable. So it's a weird fit, and especially since they put themselves in a position that they're gonna get their basketball and other programs screwed over. Is ain't no way is the MAC gonna say, yeah, you can stay for everything else. Heck no. If I'm the MAC, I'm kicking them out.
mm-hmm.
So we're interested to see what happens. Maybe they don't, but yeah, bold move by Northern Illinois. It makes sense for Grand Canyon, in part because they have mountains, but they don't have to travel as far. Whereas Illinois is, granted you do have Buffalo in there, so they have to travel for that on occasion. But um, you know, Ohio's not that far away. Teams in Indiana aren't that far away for you. Now you have to go to Idaho and Arizona. It's just like, why'd you do this? But good for memes, I guess. So I guess shout out to Northern Illinois. I don't know. And then the last thing we got, and then we got to move over to baseball. Deion Sanders, big topic of conversation right now. I'm curious to think who the Cowboys are gonna hire, but will he leave Colorado, and will he become the Cowboys head coach? It's a very tempting move for him. So, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I've heard both sides of this, of him
Mm-hmm.
saying he's leaving, or he would leave if he got the Cowboy job, or if he was offered the Cowboy job, or he's not leaving whatsoever. The only person that really knows is Dion himself. I did see some funny things of the Cowboys trading Dak away, and getting Tennessee's #1 overall pick, and then drafting Shador Sanders, and having
Be
Dion come down and
crazy.
coach for Dallas. And if that were the case, then you know what? Sure, let's do it. Um, but I think it's better for him to stay at Colorado. I think,
Mm.
and he said something similar to this. Like, he doesn't feel like he would have the same type of pull as he would in the NFL as he does in college. Um, I think he's great for the college game. I love him at Colorado. I loved him at Jackson State and what he did there. I think it's cool to see former players, former coaches like Bill Belichick go into college and want to be a part of the new college football. And I think it's also really cool for the athletes that are in high school, that are in college, that are getting that, because you're getting really good. I mean, you're getting the greatest of all time in Bill Belichick, but you're also getting really good players to go back. I mean, now we have Eddie George, we have Michael Vick that went. Like, we're having these teams that are going back, and um, I think as a player, it'd be really cool to play for, because they know what it takes to get you to that next level, and I would want to go play for that. So I think it would benefit him to stay. Whatever he does, I feel like he's going to be successful at. If he decides to go to the NFL, he's going to be successful at that, because I think people and players in the NFL have known what he has know what he's done his whole career, um, and I think they would feel like it'd be a blast to play for him.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think he should stay at Colorado. As for who I think the Cowboys are going to hire, I don't like that they're going to hire him, but I have a very strong feeling it's going to be Kellen Moore. Um, and if that is the case, if that's the case, I'm out, and I will be taking my talents to the New England Patriots, because
Drake Man Mondays.
Mike Vrabel is a dog,
He's a
and he's
dog.
gonna get that team right.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so if Kellen Moore does go, I would like Dion. I think would be a great, but I think realistically, Aaron Glenn from Detroit, I think would be a great option. I
Yeah.
don't think we'll get him, but Ben Johnson, I think, will be a really good head coach somewhere, given time. He's a great offensive mind already, so having him be your head coach would be great. I wish we would have kept Dan Quinn around, um, because I thought he was better, but I know he's not on the market, so I can't say him. But yeah, I would like Aaron Glenn. What he's done with that Detroit defense, and just how banged up that they have been, and he's still out there doing what he's doing. And that defense doing what they're doing. It just shows that he's a good coach, and the players want to play for him. But as I told you, Jerry Jones is doing this search on his own. So the only person that really knows what's going to happen is Jerry Jones himself.
Well, yeah. Quick shout out to Aaron Glenn though, because he's done a great job, especially what he did to Sam Darnold. We just saw Sam Darnold get a 5-year bag to putting the fries in the bag at McDonald's in a span of 2 weeks. So, R.I.P. Sam, but you're cooked, buddy. So the fact that he did something like that, exposing a whole entire team with how banged up they are, was really impressive. Obviously, they had a lot of points the last couple of weeks there, but you just look at teams they played. You played Buffalo, so like, yeah, you allowed 48. It's Josh Allen, bro's superhuman right now. So like, you gotta come slack there. So he's done a great job. I think Dion would be a great fit. I think he would have more of a pull than people would think. He's a Cowboy legend, so I mean, I think that would attract a lot more guys to Dallas, because Dion won in Dallas, and he had the swagger and confidence to be the biggest name in Dallas when he was there. So I mean, or one of the biggest names. So I think that would have a huge impact on turning their organization around. It might be a weird fit with Dak. So I think the idea of trading Dak to get Shedeur would be brilliant if they go the Dion route as head coach. So I think it would be that would be interesting, and I don't know how much more they had to realistically give up because Dak's contract is massive, and come playoff time, he's not exactly been reliable. But let's be honest, the Titans are Mickey Mouse anyway. So, uh, what are you gonna do? Make it to the AFC Championship game and lose to the Chiefs? Not like they did that 5 years ago. So, um, yeah, it'll be interesting. I kind of hope Kellen Moore is hired so you can join us in Drake May Mondays. So, it'll be interesting. So quickly, we're gonna go over to MLB and then we're gonna make some predictions for NFL. So we're gonna start with the Sasaki update. What a shocker! Despite saying he wants a small market, who's in the top two? The Dodgers. Yeah, that's a tiny market, buddy. What is so full of it? I think we all know he's going to the Dodgers. The other team's Toronto. Blue Jays fans, I feel so bad for you. You've been tormented this whole off season, and your front office has tried. So I'll commend them for it. But like, you're kind of just in an awkward situation, and I feel like if these guys came up 2 years ago, they'd be a lot more appealed to join you. But considering the division they're in and what they looked like last year, I think Toronto's cooked. So yeah, unless if Sasaki decides, yeah, Toronto's the market size I want, which isn't small. It might be small for baseball, but it's not a small market. Yeah, it'll be an interesting decision. Interesting too. Everybody knew the Dodgers were there. I don't think anybody expected Toronto to be in the finals, so it would be interesting to see what he decides, if he decides today. I've been peeking at my phone quite a bit, just waiting to see because it seems like he's gonna. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He's got what till the 23rd, 25th, so he's got maybe less than a week. So, and then the other signing, and I'll let you jump in, or not other signing, but I'm gonna talk about Pete Alonso. He offered the Mets an exclusive offer to them only, where it was a 3-year deal, and there were opt-outs in that contract in terms of how much it was not disclosed. Personally, if I were the Mets, I would have done it because I just saw a report today that, or it was last night, I don't remember. It said most teams expect him to leave at this point, which, to be honest, I don't know where he's going to go because the first baseman market's pretty much covered by everybody. Maybe Toronto. We'll see. I swear if he goes to the Dodgers, I'm never watching baseball again. I've said that 5 times, but my goodness, I don't even want to entertain that thought. But thoughts on those two before we talk about the other 3 moves here really quick.
Yeah, I think Sasaki having the Blue Jays in his finalists, I think we may think he may be a meme lord and keeping the Blue Jays there because no one genuinely thinks he's gone to the Blue Jays. Sorry, Blue Jays fans. I feel for y'all. It sucks being a final 2 or final 3 and not getting any of them, which is why you had a loser team of the week. The loser team of the week for me is the Blue Jays because they keep getting dragged along in these and get absolutely nothing out of them.
Hurts.
I think the Dodgers and the Padres are really the only two. Neither of them are small market teams. One is smaller than the other, but neither of them is small market. The Padres have been known to go and spend money. I mean, when you look at Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Blake Snell, they went and got. So, like, there's guys that they're willing to go spend money for. I wouldn't consider them a small market team. As for Pete Alonso, the Rangers have been linked to him, which is interesting. I'm not getting my hopes up because I said all of their big signings were done and that they were focusing on their bullpen. But I mean,
that makes sense.
When you have Pete Alonso out there still, if I were Chris Young, I would also be thinking about it because at this point he's going to take some sort of a pay cut. So is it worth doing it? in my opinion, I don't know. We don't really have a first baseman in my mind. Um, and he could be your guy, but then you would have to deal with some repercussions from that, of other players either getting traded or let go or moved on. But I want Kirby Yates back, so I want them to focus on that, or a closer in general. Tanner Scott would be a good one too.
Enter's gone
Um,
now, so you gotta,
yeah.
gotta, you gotta start thinking soon
So
because forgot
I
who picked him up, but he got snagged today.
Yeah, so I want Kirby Yates back first, and then if Pete Alonso's still out there, we have a little bit more money to play with now, because of our TV deal. It's not a lot yet, but a little bit more money to play with. I think they said the Rangers are like $12 to $15 million under the cap hit, which
But
honestly,
considering the Dodgers are 400 million over, why
yeah.
not just spend 300 right now?
So I think for the Rangers, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot to get Yates back.
Yeah.
But Alonso sitting out there, there's some teams that if he sits out there long enough, I would feel would jump onto that bandwagon and be like,
St. Louis needs to be one of them.
I mean,
You
they
just
want
lost.
to,
You just lost Goldschmidt.
yeah, and they
So
want to rebuild their roster from pretty
so
much nothing up. So I mean, you're not losing it. Like this is a new guy coming in, so it fits the bill of what you're trying to do.
mhm.
It just makes it interesting for some teams. Minnesota could be another one. You just lost, not just lost, but you lost Carlos Santana. Um, Not saying that Minnesota will go out and pay that much, but that's a team that could end up in the mix.
Colorado would be the funniest thing. You guys have the opportunity to do the funniest thing and actually try to spend money. I know they're not going to do it, but
I
Pete
did
Alonso
see
to the Rockies. I predicted it.
I did see the A's spent more money in their international pool, but they spent more money. They got an 18-year-old Japanese high school player that is a two-way player.
Wow.
And they spent a good chunk of their international money to get him.
Wow.
Um,
Screw their owner.
he hit like 40 home
Good
runs
moves, but
as a high schooler. Yeah, yeah.
I actually did that too. I just didn't have cameras on while I did it.
So I mean, they said that he's not as good as Otani, but he's the next. He's the next like Otani like player
Yeah,
that can both hit and pitch really well.
that's interesting.
So
Well, yeah, they have what 23 positions to fill. They got Rooker and Severino. So there you go. Now you have to narrow it down to 21. Oh man, but last quick shout out, Alex Bregman. Little sort of surprised he's still out here, sort of not, but we saw their Yankees and Astros are still tied to him, but it's pretty much still seems like they're not going to be the guys to get him. The top two dogs right now, from what I saw, was Boston and Detroit. I think I've seen a lot more reports though about Detroit getting him, but Boston does have more money to throw at him. So I think he should go to Detroit, but at the same, on one hand he should go there, but the other hand I'd be a little scared because seeing Javi Baez. Uh, of course, Javi's always swung at everything. I know, I watched it. So, and Alex Bregman is, to be fair, every last player in the MLB is more disciplined than Javi Baez. Literally, there are pitchers that are more disciplined than Javi Baez at the plate. And pitchers besides Otani can't hit anymore. So, yeah, I'm curious to see where he goes. I think those two are pretty reasonable landing spots for him. I think it'd be a great move for Detroit. It's just one step to getting better to contending for a title. So it certainly push them to that next level. And Boston wouldn't necessarily need them. Their lineup's great. I think they should really just be focused on pitching. But if you do want to make a World Series run and ultimately run into the Dodgers, Bregman would be a nice piece to help you out there. So not saying that they would, probably won't, but you never know. So any last second thoughts there before we close things off with divisional round predictions here?
yeah, I mean, I think The Red Sox doesn't make sense to me because unless you're going to move him to a different position that's not third,
Sounds like
because
he moved to second.
okay, then that makes sense because you have Story that's going to come back this year,
Mm-hmm.
who's probably going to play short for you or second for you. You have Devers at third, and then you have
Yeah.
Casas at first. So there's really not, unless you're going to move Devers full time DH, but then you
From
would.
what it sounded like, he was gonna go to second.
So,
So.
in my opinion, I thought this when we talked about the
Mm-hmm.
Red Sox and Tigers being the favorite. I think the Tigers should go get him.
Yeah,
They need a little bit more
I
pop
agree.
in their lineup, and I think Bregman will bring that to them. Obviously, he's not going to be the lone savior for them, but I think it's a step in the right direction for them,
Mm-hmm.
and getting some of that power because they're a scrappy team,
They
and
are.
that's what works for them. So don't take that away from them. Just add a little bit of power that can help you when you got guys
Good glove
on
too.
bases that can also hit a home run. And yeah, I mean Gold Glover multiple times. So he's also going to go play the position and do it very well. So the Tigers should just throw their money at him. He's one of the last big free agents on the market, position wise, other than Santander. But I think he's your guy.
Yeah, Santander, almost forgot about him. And it seems like the entire market's forgotten about him. Yeah, bro just casually hit what 35 to 40 home runs last year, and people like, nah, that's crazy disrespectful. Honestly, if I'm Santander, I just go back to Baltimore at this point. At least that even on a 1 year deal. That's what I thought Alonso should have done too. But I don't know how old Santander is. Pete Alonso is 30 or 31, so obviously he can't really keep doing this whole 1 year deal and hope for a bigger thing next time. But at the same time, it did work out for Matt Chapman. That is what he did, and he secured a bag. So be curious to see what happens with those two and what they end up doing. If I'm Santander, I'm going back. Baltimore's a World Series contender. Why not try to just stay in your roots and just delay payment for a year and try to contend for a ring? So,
Yeah,
um,
I
because there's
also
not
feel
real
I also feel like Detroit could be a good landing spot for
true.
Alonso because they don't. I mean, Torkelson is their first baseman, but he did not have a good year and a half.
He fell about, yeah.
And so, I mean, that also adds pop to your lineup. And he's once again a good first baseman. Like he's good defensively. He's not like horrendous at first base.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the Tigers could go out there and really ripple the waters if they wanted to.
For sure. Well, I'll be curious to see what happens there. Obviously, we'll talk more MLB next week. We should have an update at least on Sasaki for sure. Not sure about the rest. I'd like to imagine at least one other guy that we brought up today will at least be linked to closing a deal by this time next week. But who knows? MLB free agency is a little weird. So, last but not least, we will make NFL predictions, except for the Chiefs, because respectfully, Ethan, you guys are cooked. Let's not joke ourselves. So, Houston Texans versus the Chiefs. Chiefs are winning it. If they lose, then
Chiefs
CJ
by
Stroud
40.
is our savior. That's bold because their offense has been cheeks.
I'm putting
Um,
plus 40 on that game.
oh my gosh, that I don't know if I go that crazy, but yeah, I didn't say it, Ethan. Okay, I didn't say it. Um, but hopefully his flight working in Kansas City doesn't end up being
I
too bad.
mean,
Hey, maybe you should go to the game. You can catch Ethan there.
it didn't bode well for his Chargers.
No, it did not.
So
No, it did
we'll see
not.
what happens
But
to the secondary team.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But we'll make more in-depth predictions for the other matchups. So the second game, I believe, is going to be Commanders Lions, which is very intriguing, and I'm very tempted to take the Commanders because Jane Daniels is, you know, he's just been proving so many guys wrong all year long. He was the guy I actually wanted in the draft personally over May, but I wouldn't be getting Drake May Mondays. So, but I was a big fan of Jane Daniels, so I can't pull the trigger. I just the Lions are getting Montgomery back, and they're getting one of their corners back, and that's going to be really hard for the Commanders, who talent wise really shouldn't be here, but they just well overperformed. They're really hard workers. I think they can make this game a game, and I think they'll make it competitive. But in the battle of the Dans that don't kick field goals, I think Dan Campbell is gonna get it, especially since the other Dan blew was a part of blowing a 28-3 lead. So Commanders, if you go up 20, if it's 27-3 and you're kicking an extra point, shank it. But I got Lions in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's if we're gonna name bowls, this is the go for it on 4th down bowl.
For real.
Yeah, I think I just have too much respect for Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Glenn is gonna have his defense ready. He got Anzalone back against Minnesota, and you could see just how getting one guy back made that defense even better than they already were doing.
Yeah.
And getting a cornerback back for them, I think they're heading in the right direction health wise, and getting Montgomery back, also adding Knuckles or putting Knuckles and Sonic back together. I mean, that's a terrifying backfield.
I do.
But good job for Dan Quinn to get his team to where they are. I mean, Washington should not be in this position at all, so kudos to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've always loved Dan Quinn. Even when he was with the Falcons, I was happy when he became a Cowboy.
He's a great coach.
The Commanders are in the Cowboys division, but I respect them because of Dan Quinn. Jaden Daniels is a dog. Scary Terry's a dog. I just don't think they can do it alone. And I just think Goff and that offense is going to be overwhelming.
It's going to be too much for that defense. Yeah. That being said, Commanders, we're not disrespecting you, and who knows? Maybe they'll shock the world and pull off the upset. But if this was any other year, I'd be pulling for them. But I need a Lions-Bills Super Bowl, so battle of the who's been more miserable the last 65 and a half years. So.
I mean, when you lose 4 Super Bowls, I think
that's pretty bad.
You're the more miserable.
But they've been to 4. Detroit hasn't been to 1.
That's fair.
So, jeez. So our other 2 matchups, we had the Eagles versus, oh my gosh. Well, I know who's winning this because it's taking me a second to remember who they're playing.
The Rams.
Rams, thank you. Stafford, I greatly apologize. This is a trickier one. I just can't. I hate to go all favorites this week because I don't think it's going to happen. The problem is all the teams that are favored to win this week have an incredible backfield situation. Whereas the teams they're facing don't have as strong of a ground game, or at least for the first 2 we've talked about. You know, the Eagles got, in my opinion, should be MVP Saquon Barkley. Absolutely phenomenal season. Probably the best running back season we've seen since AP's MVP year. Saquon's just, I thought he was an injury-prone guy. Turned out it was just he was behind such an atrocious organization that had they just even had a top 29 offensive line, he would have been fine. But no, they had a 33rd out of 32nd. Giants are poverty, but it's just going to be too hard for the Rams to overcome Saquon when they don't have a as dominant run game as they do. I know Kyron Williams is a pretty good player. He's just not on the level of Saquon. That being said, of all the matchups that have biggest upset possibility, this one is there because Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are disgusting. Stafford is probably the most composed. He's the most experienced out of pretty much anyone here left besides Mahomes. So he knows what it takes to win one. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is a couple plays away from winning one, but it is a scary matchup for the Eagles, but Saquon, I think, is going to take over.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this game for a long time. I have a coworker that's a Rams fan, and we were just talking about that before this podcast, and he doesn't think the Rams have much of a chance because of Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
But Saquon's going to do Saquon. But if you can contain him, which I think the Rams can do, Jalen Hurts is not. You need to make Jalen Hurts beat you.
That's true.
And I think
Stafford could beat Hurts easily.
that's what I'm saying.
For sure.
I think LA Rams offense is going to be. The Eagles defense is good, but I think Stafford knows what it takes to win. And when you have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, who, in my opinion, probably the best 1-2 duo in the NFL, and then Stafford, who knows what it takes to win, and then you have Kyron Williams, who is a dog and
he's a stud,
shouldn't be as good as he is, and he is. Or I guess has no right to be as good as he is. And I think that LA Rams offense is underrated. I think you saw what they did against Minnesota, and that's why I'm personally I'm gonna take the Rams because I think
they torched Minnesota twice.
Yeah, I think the Rams offense is better than Philly's offense because Saquon is the only piece that I would be scared about if I was LA. Because I don't think Jalen Hurts is consistent enough, especially coming off of a concussion, to beat me.
Yeah.
So, I will take the Rams.
I respect that. I was really close to taking them. It just really comes down to how well you can contain Saquon for sure. Green Bay relatively did that. He was under 5 yards a carry, so albeit it was over 100 yards, but they did somewhat do that, and they were relatively in the game despite Jordan Love's 2 interceptions. So, yeah, we'll see. I think of all the 3 games that will have upset possibility, that one and the next one are the 2 biggest chances we'll see that happening. So the last game we're going to be talking about is Ravens-Bills. I can't go against my dad. Baltimore is looking frightening with that Lamar Henry duo, and obviously early in the year, Baltimore absolutely smacked Buffalo around. That in mind, no Zay Flowers, for better or worse. Great player, but just a little too inconsistent right now, and he's young, but it's going to hurt Lamar, though, in the long run, because now we're throwing to Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, who both all year long, I would know. I had both of them at one point in fantasy. Drove me insane. So not exactly guys you want to be relying on as your top 2 players. I guess you got Rashad Bateman, but yeah, I think the Nose Flowers is a big concern for me for Baltimore. And as good as Derrick Henry is, James Cook is probably the most underrated running back in the postseason at this point. He's a huge reason why Buffalo's here, because everyone was saying Buffalo might miss the playoffs, which is ridiculous. But James Cook needed to step up for Buffalo to be good this year, and he stepped up in a huge way because he opened up this offense so much because he could handle the heavy workload that he's gotten. He's not really splitting it with anybody. So, yeah, I'll rock with Buffalo, though. Josh Allen's a beast. James Cook's a beast. Could Baltimore win? And will they probably win? It's 50-50. This is the best matchup of the week. Both incredible quarterbacks, but as we've seen too, Lamar in the postseason, not the best player to rely on. So, and I know he won last week, but you beat a Mickey Mouse Steelers team. So, if he could beat Buffalo this week, I think he'll beat the allegations of him not being a playoff quarterback. But I don't think it's going to happen. But I think it will be an electric game.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this game. This is the game that I want to watch. And I'm really excited for this one. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I like Buffalo. I think Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson combo should be illegal. Should not have been allowed. Everyone should have vetoed it. But that being said, I do think Josh Allen and James Cook are just as deadly in a different way. I mean, they went on a 31-point run against Denver, and they showed why they are as deadly as everyone thinks they are. this is going to be an electric game. I'm excited for it. It's going to be close. It's going to be a nail biter, or at least it should be on paper. I like Josh Allen too much, maybe to my own defeat. But, yeah, I think Josh Allen, despite the defense not being good, not being great, I think they'll step up when they need to step up. And we always know Allen will step up. I've heard it all week. This is the battle of who gets to win the MVP. I think, unfortunately, it's not. I think Lamar's going to win it no matter what.
Lamar deserves it. I like the numbers say Lamar
Yeah.
deserves it. Respectfully, and I want it to go to Lamar because that means MVP curse. At the same time, though, if they do win, Baltimore needs to beat Kansas City. So
yeah. So I think the Bills. I like the Bills.
yeah.
I think regardless, the AFC Championship is going to be another electric one with
It's gonna be insane.
the Chiefs either against the Bills or the Ravens. It'll be electric. It'll be fun. But yeah, no, I think the Bills. I like the Bills. Yeah, I think last I saw, the Bills are actually the underdog.
I saw that.
So
and I don't like that because Poly Market knows ball. So, oh man, but that should be a great game though. And the one thing you can't accuse Josh Allen of is not showing up in the postseason because, you know, yeah, he hasn't been in the Super Bowl yet, but that is not his fault. Bro puts on a show in every playoff game he is in. So it'll be a great game, and hopefully whoever wins that, regardless who it is, beg of you to beat Kansas City. For all of our sanity.
It's for America.
Or if you lose, don't be put in a position where you push Mahomes out of bounds, flag, and they end it on a kick. Please. And like I can live with it if Chiefs win outright, no controversy. A little hypocritical on my end, albeit I will say I of all people can't be saying that, but I get why people say it now. So, but yeah, any final thoughts before we call it a week?
No, I mean, we got the championship game on Monday for the NCAA. We have really good NFL football this weekend. It'll be electric, and honestly, I'm excited for all of it. And we have the best sport ever still going on in the NHL. So,
yeah,
it's always a good week when you have NHL.
Agreed. Hopefully the Blackhawks season ends soon enough, though. So, oh man. Well, it was great talking, covering sports with y'all again, and we'll see y'all next week with a lot to cover. A lot of playoff results. How badly does Notre Dame lose by? Let's be honest. Respectfully, they're getting curb stomped. But so we'll talk about some other signings as well. So until then, thank you all for joining us.